27-year-old Sydney man Alexander Campbell set out to walk around the world almost 2 years ago. He headed off from Sydney in February of 2023 and raising money for the Fred Hollows Foundation. Alexander made his way up the east coast of Australia, across Queensland, the Northern Territory, through East Timor, Malaysia, Bangladesh, Nepal, India and so on. He's posting almost daily clips about his journey on social media and they're so cool. Here's the latest.
548 and 549 of my walk around the world. I set off from Shimla, here in the foothills of the Himalayas, making my way past old colonial buildings left over from its time as the summer capital of British India. This would be my final 2 days in the state of Himachal Pradesh, as I'd be making my way down from the hills towards the Punjab plain. On the first day out of Shimla, I got hit by some real heavy monsoon rains that flooded the roads, but I pushed onwards and was rewarded with a beautiful sunset as I arrived in the town of Kunihar in the evening after walking 36 kilometers. The following day, I continued descending, making my way towards the plains, but the further I descended, the hotter it got.
I'm getting sweaty. It'd be great if it rained, cool it down a little bit.
I was also dealing with some Achilles problems.
Yesterday, after I stopped walking, just kind of froze up. I was just super stiff and tight. I couldn't really walk properly, and it wasn't any better when I woke up this morning. Now that I've started moving, it's kind of freed itself up a bit. I have to take it easy in the next few days and hope it gets better.
I don't know what was going on with my Achilles, but it would thankfully end up sorting itself out.
Look at you two. Aren't you adorable? Aren't you adorable? Hello.
During the day, I strangely walked past a place with some Australian flags hanging out the front, and then soon came across some Indian minor birds, which are a very common invasive species back home, and then stumbled into a whole heap of gum trees, which left me wondering,
am I sure I'm not back in Australia? Hey. First barking dog in a long time. All the mountain dogs were so relaxed, they didn't care about me at all.
After a 33-kilometer day, I eventually arrived in the village of Rumshihar and stumbled upon a great little homestay and then grabbed some dinner at a restaurant next door.
And it's good to know he survived the barking dog. Alexander is now taking a break in Almaty, Kazakhstan, and he joins us from there now. Alexander, g'day, and congratulations on your progress so far. How are you feeling now in the big scheme of this huge adventure? Are you close to halfway?
Hey Joe, thanks for having me on. Feeling good. It's been a big 2 years almost, coming up in February. And yeah, I've now walked about 16,000 kilometers and getting closer to halfway.
And so how are you holding up physically and mentally?
Yeah, physically pretty good. My left shoulder's been a bit of a niggle for like, I don't know, a good year or so. And my right ankle's a little locked up, but like, I should go see a physio while I'm here taking a rest. But yeah, mentally, good. Although I feel like after 2 years of constantly moving, it'll be really nice now to get to have a break and stay in one place for a little bit to recharge and kind of, regain that loss of adventure to get back out there again after the winter and keep moving on.
Yeah. And how does it feel for you? I think you can see this picture as well, seeing these places that you've been, these amazing places that you've been in the last 2 years.
Yeah, it's hard to believe, you know, thinking about when I set off back from the Sydney Harbour Bridge back in February 2023, I've seen a lot of places since then. It's incredible. It's the adventure of a lifetime.
About how many Ks are you averaging each day while on the road, and about how many kilos are you carrying?
So I try and normally get into the 40s. My biggest day was 74 kilometers. That was actually back in Australia to try and get to a pub to watch the Cronulla Sharks play, so I could watch the game on the telly. But yeah, normally try to get to the 40s. And my backpack, I've never weighed it, but during this last stretch, I had to pick up some extra warmer stuff, just because I was coming into the winter and the temperatures were getting like, you know, down to like -8, -10 kind of thing. Yeah. So I had to pick up some extra stuff for that. So I think I was maybe around like, I was going to guess maybe 7 kilos. Yeah.
And
8 kilos.
You're wandering off down some random trails. Are you trying to keep it as wild as possible rather than being on bitumen?
Yeah, like I love walking on trails, being out in the nature. It's not always possible, but like, through Australia, I was following like up the east, following a route called the Bicentennial National Trail, and then through like Nepal and India, I was on trails for a lot of it. But yeah, it's like going through Tajikistan, for instance, like I wanted to follow trails, but unfortunately I was just too late in the season, and the snow had already arrived. So that I had to stick to the roads for that. But yeah, if I can join onto a trail, I try to.
Look at that bridge. You've seen some amazing things. So, and you camp in some really random spots as well, sometimes just by the side of a track. Sometimes that means not such a great night's sleep. And have you been in any dodgy situations where you've been a little scared?
I think my worst night's sleep would have been back in Thailand. I woke up at about 3 in the morning to find myself covered in like biting ants. They had like eaten their way through the mesh of my tent.
No way.
Yeah, and then I switched on. I was camped inside a rubber tree plantation on the side of the road. I didn't know at the time that rubber tree farmers work in the middle of the night. And when I turned on my head torch to assess all the ants on me, turned out there was one nearby, and so he came over and was a little confused to find me camped in his plantation. But yeah, eventually walked away and got a couple more hours sleep with the ants on me, and then eventually woke up and got going.
In that clip we played just before the interview, you mentioned that you'd come across a homestay. It looks like you've come across some terrific places to stay. You'd be a goldmine of information for Lonely Planet. What are some of the... have you been surprised at some of those places that you've come across?
Yeah, I feel like India and Nepal, Tajikistan too, lots of like great little homestays that are even often like marked on maps. But yeah, then there's also homes that you stay in that aren't. I remember just before taking this break for the winter, I was an old man working at a general store, saw me walking past, and he pulled me into his store and cracked open a beer and ended up giving me a dinner and a place to stay for the night. But yeah, there's a lot of great little places around the world to stay.
Yeah, and tell us about the hospitality and warmth of people along the way, even though you may not speak each other's language.
Yeah, pretty much every country I've been to, the people have looked after me. And yeah, often don't share the same language. I might have picked up a couple of words, and they might know a few words of English. But yeah, like whether it's been invited in for a chai through India or Pakistan, or invited to sit down for a shot of vodka through Tajikistan and Uzbekistan. Like in India one night in the mountains, I was taken in by some shepherds, and they let me sleep on one of their mats under the blanket, sharing with one of the shepherds, and cooked me up a dinner. Everywhere I've gone, I've been taken care of. It's been amazing.
And so you're up for another 2 years of this?
Yeah, no, maybe 3.
Yeah,
it depends on how I go about my route for this final section. I'm not too sure what I'll do through the Americas, so I'll wait and see. But yeah, could be a little bit longer.
Yeah, and so you're anticipating we'll see you back in Sydney in like 27, 28?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
And how much money have you raised so far for the Fred Hollows Foundation?
I think we're up around maybe almost $68,000 dollars. Yeah, it's been great. So yeah, I've been trying to raise money for the Fred Hollows Foundation along the way. Even when I was in Nepal, actually, I came across a man in a small village one night who recognized the Fred Hollows logo on my shirt, and it turned out he'd had his eyesight restored 8 years ago thanks to them.
Cool. Wow. Okay, Alexander. Well, congratulations on pursuing your dream, and we'll keep an eye on your journey through Instagram. You really do post some great stuff, and looking forward to welcoming you back to Sydney eventually.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on, Joe.